I think he did a really good job. I think he was able to teach them something while not just talking to them. I mean, he was interactive with them and was able to teach them something, getting them involved.
Okay.
So I thought he did a really good job.
Okay. Anything else you saw the TA doing in this clip?
I mean, he was probing them to answer questions. I mean, instead of just telling them what the answers were. But he still didn't just let them flop around. I mean, he got them the answer at the end.
Okay.
And it seemed like he was really teaching to where they were, trying to fit it in with the knowledge that they already had.
Okay. Anything you think you would have done differently?
I don't think so. I think he did a really good job. I think that's what you're supposed to do, yeah.
So this is post. This is at the end of the semester?
This is at the end of the semester. So it makes for a harder comparison because he's had more weeks in the classroom. But it's definitely different. There's a very different response to what this TA is doing than.
He's just gone a whole semester, and he now believes that the TA's job is to give them the answer at the end of the day.
So,
Which is-
and
He's saying I wouldn't do anything differently.
he said, yeah, basically, I mean, he said multiple times in this transcript, he say, I think this is a really good job. I think that's what you're supposed to do, is what this TA is doing. So there's a very strong identification with the TA who is more apt to explain it to the students. It is, I mean, it's consistent with his, in his response to the first TA, which was, I didn't like how he let him hang. I'm not really sure if that's what I'm supposed to do. Whereas here, it's, this is what you're supposed to do. This to me is a good opportunity to see, well, makes me really curious what this TA does in the classroom, because is he acting like that TA? So this is an opportunity for us to compare this type of beliefs with how they're enacted by this TA in the classroom. And the same for the first TA. Yes, sir.
So it would seem that the belief about what the TA should be doing fits a very specific stereotype, which is very similar to what the belief is that the professor should be doing.
Absolutely. Yep. And that's also something I'm interested in, is what did the not just how the TA see their role, but how they see it in relation to what the professor's job is. Am I sort of the do I re-explain things that the instructor already did, or am I where do I kind of fit in relation? We've got sort of three players here: it's the professor, the TA, perhaps the LA. And they distinguish what they do from what the TA does. So they're all sort of enacting their role in relation to what the other people are doing, which adds a whole other dimension to it.
So in terms of what you're studying here,
Yeah.
what kind of variability, or are there parameters that you can place around certain stereotypes of TA1 behaves in this manner, in these dimensions, TA2,
Yeah, and that's what I'm sort of working towards. How do we, we can list out these beliefs till the cows come home, and we can keep digging and reading between the lines here. But can we, is there kind of a structure here, and can we, these beliefs aren't all independent things. They're related, and they all have to do with what the TA thinks matters in the classroom, how they respond to their own students, how they respond to what they do, how they choose to prepare themselves for being in the classroom. So the idea is to be able to compare these types of instructors. I want some sort of way of organizing these beliefs, so we can talk about this TA. This TA thinks has this idea about what teaching is because he says it, and if we look at here's a clip from what he did on week 12, where he actually he basically did what the positive TA was, which is give an example that the students say makes sense and the TA makes sense and everybody says this makes sense. So
So it fits the archetype of what the student expects the TA to be doing.
right, and the students are an element player too, and so we have more to go on than just these responses because, as we said, there's follow-up interview questions. We talk about walk me through a session of your class. What do you think of the UW tutorials? What do you like about them? How do you think they could be different? So we have other ways to compare how they think about the resources they use in the classroom. So we can use that to relate back to how they choose to use those resources. So that we have a lot to draw upon here, and I'm just starting to scratch the surface. But ultimately, that's what I'm sort of working toward. Is do we have a simple way of characterizing these beliefs and finding structure between, this, is there some way of finding connections between these just one line beliefs that basically were pulled right out of the transcript? I guess we gotta wrap up here, but this is, I did the same thing for TA2 here. This is what based on his transcript, what he seems to value, and I guess if people need to split, but my big questions for all of you are, does this seem like a promising area in terms of ability to characterize TAs, and we haven't even gotten to LAs yet, but characterizing TA beliefs, and is this the right way to go about it? Are these the right videos? Is this, what do you all think?
So I mean, I'd love to know how the sort of all the kinds of unspoken cues from the students affect what the LA is doing, because I know how to teach Socratically, but it's extremely difficult because everybody's in a hurry, okay? And including the students, right? And so, really discovering what the student thinks, which is Socratic, is not the same as getting them to think the right thing, which is anti-Socratic. So there is a tension there, and I would love to know what sort of the sort of primate-based cues, when the students are sitting there looking, well, just tell me the answer because I got other things to do, how that impacts the LA, because I bet you that makes a big difference. I bet you there are a lot of students who are just there to get the answer and get the hell out. And they don't really care whether they've mastered physics, right? Because I don't know what percentage of these people are physics majors. But I'm really interested in that, because I think part of the reason that teachers get to be the way they are is because most students don't want to, they're not there to learn it, right? They're there to pass the course. And so, because, you may say there's a lot of reasons why they have that attitude, but when push comes to shove, when somebody's taking a bunch of different courses, they don't have infinite amounts of time to meander through the material. And so that feedback between the student and the instructor, I think.
So just as, so not only do the TAs have beliefs considering what their role in these recitation sections is, but the students absolutely have an idea what the TA's role, and they perceive that the TA's role in the classroom should be. And